Did you know that thousands of Filipinos living abroad struggle to find a roof over their heads? Today, we're uncovering the harsh realities behind this crisis and the countries where it's most prevalent. Stay tuned as we dive into the statistics and stories that demand global attention. Filipinos have long been recognized for their resilience and hardworking nature, with millions choosing to work and live abroad to support their families. Yet, despite their efforts, many face immense challenges, including homelessness. In this video, we'll explore the top 10 countries where the Filipino homeless population has grown significantly as of 2025. Using data from humanitarian organizations, government reports, and first-hand accounts, we aim to shed light on the factors contributing to this issue and how it impacts Filipino communities. Country number 10. Singapore has a significant Filipino population, primarily working in domestic services. Many Filipinos face homelessness due to job terminations or legal issues. Overcrowded shared housing is a common temporary solution. Strict immigration policies make it difficult to stay after losing jobs. High living costs leave low-income workers unable to afford proper housing. Nonprofit organizations provide temporary shelters and meals for struggling migrants. Filipino community groups offer legal advice and emotional support. Deportation fears prevent many from seeking help from authorities. Many Filipinos sleep in public places or rely on friends for temporary shelter. The lack of affordable housing leaves many in substandard living conditions. Singapore's labor laws protect domestic workers, but lack proper enforcement. Filipinos contribute significantly to Singapore's economy despite challenges. Advocacy groups call for better policies to support migrant workers. The Philippine Embassy provides limited assistance due to resource constraints. Despite hardships, the resilience and faith of Filipinos shine through their struggles. Country number 9. Qatar's booming economy attracts many Filipino workers, especially in construction. However, some end up homeless due to job scams or unpaid wages. Strict labor laws often trap workers in poor living conditions. Many Filipinos live in overcrowded accommodations or makeshift shelters. Qatar's high cost of living leaves low-income workers with few housing options. Deportation fears prevent many Filipinos from seeking help. Community groups and churches provide temporary support for struggling OFWs. Many are forced to endure unsafe working and living environments. Cultural barriers and strict laws limit access to social services. The FIFA World Cup brought attention to migrant worker conditions, including Filipinos. Advocacy groups are pushing for better housing and labor rights in Qatar. Many Filipinos rely on informal networks to survive during hard times. Despite hardships, Filipinos remain a vital part of Qatar's workforce. Repatriation programs are available but underutilized due to fear of employer retaliation. Qatar's labor laws need better enforcement to prevent worker exploitation. Country number 8. South Korea has a growing population of Filipino migrants, especially in factories. Many Filipinos face homelessness due to job terminations or exploitation. High living costs in cities like Seoul are a major challenge for low-income workers. Language barriers make it difficult for Filipinos to access social services. Many undocumented workers fear deportation and avoid seeking help. Filipino community organizations provide temporary relief through food drives and shelters. Overcrowded housing and shared accommodations are common for Filipinos. The lack of affordable health care exacerbates their financial instability. Cultural differences can make it challenging for Filipinos to integrate. South Korea's immigration policies leave little room for migrant support systems. Many Filipinos sleep in public places or live in substandard housing. Humanitarian groups are working to address the issue of migrant homelessness. Despite hardships, Filipinos contribute significantly to South Korea's industries. The Filipino Embassy assists those in need, but challenges persist. South Korea's labor reforms must focus on immigrant welfare to prevent exploitation. Country number 7. Malaysia hosts a significant number of Filipino workers, particularly in domestic roles. Many Filipinos face homelessness due to exploitation and low wages. Job scams leave migrants stranded without work or shelter. Filipinos in Malaysia often live in overcrowded and unsafe housing conditions. Deportation fears prevent many from seeking government assistance. Language and cultural barriers make navigating legal systems challenging. Urban areas like Kuala Lumpur have visible Filipino homeless communities. Community groups in Malaysia provide temporary support for struggling migrants. Many Filipinos face discrimination, worsening their access to aid. Long working hours and low pay leave little room for financial stability. Overstaying visas can lead to detention or fines that exacerbate homelessness. Despite hardships, Filipinos maintain their resilience and community ties. Non-government organizations advocate for better migrant worker protections. The Philippine Embassy offers assistance, but resources are limited. Malaysia's labor policies need better enforcement to prevent worker exploitation. Country number 6. Canada is a popular destination for Filipino immigrants, yet homelessness remains an issue. Rising housing costs in cities like Toronto and Vancouver impact low-income families. Many Filipinos lose jobs due to economic downturns or industry closures. Language barriers limit access to housing and social services. Undocumented Filipino workers face additional challenges in finding shelter. Overcrowded shared housing is a common temporary solution. Filipino community centers provide food and temporary shelter for those in need. The long waiting lists for affordable housing leave many without options. Harsh winters make homelessness particularly dangerous in Canada. Advocacy groups are working to highlight the struggles of homeless Filipino migrants. The Canadian government has programs to assist immigrants, but they are underfunded. Many Filipinos sleep in public spaces or seek refuge in emergency shelters. Mental health struggles are common due to the stigma of homelessness. Community-driven initiatives have stepped in to provide immediate assistance. Despite these challenges, Filipinos contribute significantly to Canada's workforce and culture. Country number 5. Australia attracts many Filipinos seeking better opportunities. However, an estimated 5,000 Filipinos face homelessness in 2025. High housing costs in cities like Sydney and Melbourne are major factors. Temporary visas limit access to welfare services for Filipino migrants. Many Filipinos lose jobs due to the pandemic's lingering effects. Cultural and legal challenges make it difficult to navigate housing systems. Homeless shelters report increasing numbers of Filipino occupants. Filipinos in rural areas face fewer job opportunities and housing options. Overcrowding in shared accommodations is common among Filipino workers. Advocacy groups urge the government to improve migrant housing policies. Filipino community organizations provide temporary support. Many Filipino students on temporary visas face housing insecurity. Despite hardships, Filipinos contribute significantly to Australia's economy. Stories of perseverance show the strength of the Filipino spirit. Australia needs stronger housing protections for vulnerable migrant groups. Country number 4. Japan's structured society creates challenges for Filipino migrants. Homelessness among Filipinos is rising, with over 6,000 affected in 2025. Cultural and language barriers prevent access to government aid. Many homeless Filipinos are former factory or service workers. Strict visa requirements limit job opportunities for undocumented workers. Tokyo and Osaka report the highest Filipino homeless populations. Filipino organizations in Japan provide food and temporary shelter. Mental health issues are common due to the stigma of homelessness. Japan's high living costs exacerbate the struggle for affordable housing. Many Filipinos live in overcrowded apartments or on the streets. Filipino migrants often face isolation due to cultural differences. Advocacy groups in Japan push for better immigrant welfare programs. Filipino workers still play a vital role in Japan's labor market. The lack of housing programs for immigrants leaves many unsupported. Stories of resilience highlight the need for systemic change. Country number 3. Dubai and Abu Dhabi are popular destinations for Filipino workers. Yet, many face homelessness due to job losses and expired visas. Filipinos in the UAE are often victims of employment scams. High living costs make it difficult to secure affordable housing. The lack of long-term residency options leaves many in limbo. Homeless Filipinos often rely on donations from their communities. Temporary shelters are scarce, leaving many to sleep in shared spaces. Language barriers make accessing legal or financial help challenging. Many Filipinos overstay visas, leading to fines they cannot afford. Urban areas like Dubai's outskirts have makeshift shelters for Filipinos. Despite hardships, Filipinos contribute significantly to the UAE's workforce. Emotional tolls of homelessness lead to mental health challenges. Advocacy groups call for better housing policies for migrant workers. Filipino churches and communities play a crucial role in providing support. UAE's labor laws are improving, but implementation remains inconsistent. Country number 2. Saudi Arabia has one of the largest Filipino communities abroad. However, many OFWs live in substandard housing or makeshift shelters. Poor working conditions contribute to the rise of Filipino homelessness. Job scams and recruitment fraud leave workers stranded without jobs or money. Many cannot leave due to confiscated passports by employers. Filipinos in construction and domestic work are especially vulnerable. Humanitarian groups in Saudi Arabia are working to assist homeless OFWs. Strict laws limit the ability of Filipinos to access social services. Unpaid wages push many into poverty and homelessness. Cultural differences and lack of legal knowledge exacerbate the situation. Filipinos often rely on their faith to endure hardships. Community-driven efforts provide temporary relief, but challenges persist. The Philippine government has repatriation programs but struggles to address the scale. Many Filipinos end up living on the streets near major cities like Riyadh and Jeddah. Saudi Arabia's labor reforms need stronger enforcement to protect workers. Country number 1. The United States is home to millions of Filipinos, but many face homelessness. Cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco have high Filipino homeless populations. Rising housing costs make affordable homes inaccessible for low-income workers. Many Filipinos lose jobs due to visa expiration, leading to financial instability. Homeless shelters in urban areas report a growing number of Filipino occupants. Immigration challenges often leave families stranded without legal protection. Discrimination and lack of access to services worsen the plight of Filipino homeless. Filipino community centers try to offer support, but are often underfunded. The American dream turns into a nightmare for many struggling Filipinos. Despite hardships, Filipinos show resilience and rely on their close-knit communities. Advocacy groups urge better housing policies for immigrant workers. Filipinos often sleep in cars or public parks to survive. The lack of affordable health care compounds their problems. Many are unable to return to the Philippines due to financial barriers. The struggle of Filipinos in the U.S. highlights the need for global immigrant reform. Homelessness among Filipinos abroad is a pressing issue that reflects broader challenges faced by migrant workers globally. These individuals leave everything behind in search of better opportunities, yet many encounter unexpected hardships. It's crucial for governments, NGOs, and communities to work together to provide support and solutions. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Together, we can amplify the voices of those who need our attention the most. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments below.